Ghana 4, welcome back on the AM show. I usher you swiftly into, well, you know what it is, blunt thoughts for today, this Friday morning. Now, today I'm going to be talking about staggering unemployment, a legislative circus, and the LGBTQI+ bill. Crucial issues in Ghana. Staggering unemployment, a legislative circus, and the LGBTQI+ bill. Crucial issues in Ghana. But before I even go there, three issues. There's so much percolating in my mind that I'd like to just throw out there because I do not understand. Why do we have to, in 21st century Ghana, in 2024, have our young ones in senior high schools walking around town to get water? Why is it that our senior high schools would be without light? Because the right things have not been done, because bills have not been paid. Even if you have the money and the right thing is not done in any employment setting, what you should do, the bill is not paid and the light goes off, someone's head will roll. That does not happen in Ghana. I don't understand certain things, and even more boggling for my mind. Sports. Our sports, and I'm not being euphemistic, is in the toilet right now. It is true. Which of our sports are we faring well in? Ghana is a known footballing and boxing nation. How have we fared? We don't have any world title holders. We're not winning any trophies anywhere. And here's what irks my spirit. You look at facilities like the Accra Sports Stadium, and recently, from what I gather, they had to fertilize the pitch after someone had paid X amount of money and the National Sports Authority had claimed someone had paid Y amount of money, which you see the disparity of about 100,000 Ghana cedis. Where that money went, no one knows. Then now, after the damage has been done, we fertilize the pitch with human excrement. Fecal matter. I hear a program had to be cancelled because of that. I don't know what goes into our thinking in this country. Even worse, when you see that men's football is at an ebb, complete ebb, nothing is working. We keep spending money, more money, throwing good money after bad money because the system itself is rotten. Then there's a call for the women's teams to get more. And then you hear voices like Gift Yowari Mensah, who is chair of the Black Queens Committee or something, coming to say, oh, half a loaf is better than none, so we should focus more on the Black Stars because the brand, for branding purposes, we look at the Black Stars. You know, sometimes they say that men are their own enemies or women are their own enemies. I don't subscribe to that, but sometimes they are. Because of women. Some of us men are fighting for the women who now are chasing what? Some $7,000 or so dollars, when the men, look at what we give them. One is bringing you laurels, performing. I was looking at, is it Hout or something, the Black Queens coach, and what she's been bringing, how many games won. She's lost one game. Yet look at our stars. So I just wanted us to reflect on some of those matters this morning. Ehame, it irks my spirit, and I had to put it out. But today I'm focusing on those three matters very quickly and we'll be out of here. Starting with unemployment. Now, there are some things that, you can hide, you can lie about, but eventually the facts, the figures will expose you, right? Unemployment pool 2023 third quarter, we're looking at a staggering 1.85 million Ghanaians who were unemployed. And these figures, of course, are estimates. So when you look at the real, it could be way more. Next slide. Then with that gap, the big MPP plan, or the big plan of the MPP, manifesto, Baumia's speech, he says 2.1 million jobs have been created between 2017 and 2022. Now do the math. Unemployment and underemployment are on the ascendancy, and I'll get to that. But 2.1 million jobs have been created. However, there's a 1.8 million gap. I don't know how that adds up for you, but someone somewhere is not being honest. Next slide. Now, if you look at the trajectory, unemployment rates trend 2010 to 2023, 13 years. 2010 it stood at 5.3%, 2015, 11.9%, 2021, 13.4%. So look at the increment, incrementally. 2022, 13.63%. 2023, that is quarters 1 to 3, 14.73%. Next slide. But then if you look at the unemployment pool, it becomes even more of a concern. At the tertiary level, you are looking at 22.3% unemployed. At the tertiary level, that is basically more than 1 in 5. Secondary level, 48.8%. Other levels, 28.9%. You add everything together, it doesn't paint a good picture. Next slide. Now, if you look at the rate in terms of Accra and Kumasi, there's a telling picture created there. Accra represented by the blue lines, Ashanti represented by the curry or brown lines, national rate represented by the white. Now you look at the national rate and you would see a certain trajectory. It dipped, but since then it's been going higher, with the highest we've seen around Q1 of 2023, 14.9%. But interestingly, you look at the Ashanti region, spike from 14.2 to 20.2 in 2022, quarters 1 and 2, and then a decline, and since that time, it's been on the ascendancy. But in the Greater Accra region, it's even sharper. 17.7% 2022 first quarter. It shot up to, it went down to 17.10%, shot up to 20.7%, and has been on the ascendancy since, with a high of 25.7% as of 2023 in that third quarter. Next slide. So that's that on unemployment. My point being that the facts and figures are not commensurable with some of what we're told from time to time. And I think it's high time our politicians, past, present, took us more seriously. Because the unemployment rate, you go out there, go by Abelinkwe, go to fire service today, right now. You see people starting to queue. You see long queues. What do they want? They want to go to Canada. Yeah, yo, my yeah. Among for betnaha. After all, CSA, yetisikaso. Inti ada na komada so de. That's what you should ask yourself. Now, Ghana's LGBTQ bill, it's something else I did mention I would speak about. The thinking is, according to Afenyo Markin's argument, substitute imprisonment for community service. Next slide. But that, of course, has been poo-pooed, jettisoned, and he was saying jail term could worsen individuals since the act is behavioral. He does have a bit of a point there. He does. Jailing a person for sexuality is not the solution, and the bill is likely to resurrect the criminal libel law. I disagree with him on that, but it could indeed worsen some individuals. But you could say the same for everyone else who goes into prison. So I don't know. But I am for some more mechanisms for non-custodial sentences. Our prisons are bursting at their seams and all of that. So to some extent, I agree with him on the first point. But next slide. Shall we go to the next slide? So there. The global perspective, though. If you look at the number of countries in terms of having any jurisdictions when it comes to LGBTQ. 65 countries have jurisdictions that criminalize LGBTQ. 12 of them have jurisdictions with death penalties inclusive. And 14 are countries that criminalize expression of transgender status. That's according to Human Dignity Trust. And those are the metrics there, in case you didn't know. But let's come home. Let's look at some of the facts and figures. Out of the 54 countries in Africa, 31 of them are countries that have laws against LGBTQ. 31. 21 are countries that have criminalized the act out of the 31. And another 21 are countries that have custodial penalty sentences. In other words, you go to prison. It's not non-custodial. You'll not do anything else. You go to prison. That's it. Let's go to the next slide. Now, when we get to the next slide, we'll try to get to the next slide so we can move from there. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just go back a notch. In terms of the focus on Nigeria, offenses and penalties associated. Now, if you enter into same-sex marriage contracts or unions, you get 14 years. Okay? If you register, operate, or participate in gay clubs, societies, and organizations, directly or indirectly make public show of same-sex amorous relationships, 10 years. If you administer, witness, abet, or aid the solemnization of same-sex marriage, that is, you are there, you are supporting, or you support the registration of operation and sustenance of gay clubs and societies, you also get 10 years. That's according to the Same-Sex Marriage Act 2013 in Nigeria. Next slide. So that makes you see, of course, according to our penal code, section 347(1), that is Cameroon, actually, 6 months to 5 years imprisonment and a fine of CFA of 20,000 to 200,000 if you are convicted for sexual relations with a person of the same sex. So this is just to, next slide, this is just to create a scenario, the dynamics in other jurisdictions and what is happening there. All right, so what that means is that in our case, we could decide, you don't necessarily have to follow blindly, but we could decide, contextualize it, how we're going to go about it, protect everybody, but still, whatever we want to do culturally, socially, we actually get that done. One thing though, it's going to be tricky for President Akufo-Addo around this time. You know why? Because if this bill is passed, or some would say when it is passed, the question is, will he sign it? Some have said that it comes with certain consequences. That's going to be a tricky bit, putting pen to paper on that issue. But to conclude, I'm going to look at, like I said, the legislative circus going on. Let's go to the next slide. Now, if we look at what exactly is happening, the latest shakeup, the story so far. Joe Osei-Wusu, the first deputy speaker, said the majority caucus had not made any changes to its leadership, that the caucus had not contemplated making any changes. 1, it had not made any changes. 2, it had not contemplated, not thought of making any changes to its leadership. Such publications should be ignored and the status quo should remain. The words of Joe Osei-Wusu, the gospel according to Joseph Osei-Wusu. But let's go to the next slide. Then you would see some interesting happenings, because as far as the current leadership is concerned, as we're seeing the shake-up and some movement here, Osei Mensah Bonsu will now be ceding his position to Afenyo Markin. Afenyo Markin, of course, now becoming the lead, and the deputy role now going to Frank Anodon per our possible leadership chart. Lydia Al-Hassan giving way. She's been made minister as of this point. And then the first deputy whip position going to Patricia Appiagyei, and then Habib ceding his place, second deputy whip, to Alex Tete. That's the tail of the tape. That's what our projections are, some of which have been confirmed. Next slide. So we'll quickly get to that next slide. But interesting perspective, because you've heard the speaker speak about the fact that the caucus is the party. The party, basically, I'm not putting out verbatim what he said, but the party, even per the new standing orders, it has some clout as far as this is concerned. Others feel that is not the case, looking at the wording of the standing orders. But the speaker is there, and Parliament also interprets its own situation. So you look at what has happened, the political party influence in Parliament, the minority caucus. 3 or 5 leaders reshuffled. You remember what ushered in Dr. Kassila Toforsen. And those who were reshuffled 3, those maintained 2 at the time. And now we have what has happened in the MPP as well. Next slide. I do not know what that will mean, basically, for our politics going forward in the 9th Parliament. But to wrap up the conversation, political party influence in Parliament, again, fallout from the NDC's parliamentary reshuffle. We saw aggrieved supporters of Haruna Idrisu giving the NDC leadership a 24-hour ultimatum to rescind their decision. A group called the Concerned Dagban Youth accused the leadership of the NDC of engaging in tribal machinations, and 50 to 60 minority MPs disapproved of the changes made by the NDC's leadership in Parliament. The question is, now that this is happening in the MPP as well, will they be able to mend or heal as quickly as they need to ahead of election 2024? I want to believe even the NDC still has some bubble in there as far as their shift from way last year. All of these political dynamics are out there, but only time will tell. All I will say this year, make you no grieve for any politician who go try deceive you. Shine your eye. You see me, so shine your eye, because Charlie, a fawa, that is it. Let's open our eyes, especially to young voters out there this year. Open your eyes, follow the issues, vote based on issues. Not because of where you're from, not because someone is adheres to your religion. Vote based on your head and your conscience. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. God bless Ghana and make her great and strong.